What's going on, everyone? Steven here with techmaker.tv. This is building a decentralized chat application with aleph.im and Node JS part 17. In the last episode, we started building out our private channels concept, and we're going to kind of keep going with that here. And to do that, what we're going to do is add on to what we started with on this channels page. So for one thing, we shouldn't be showing channels or being able to join channels if we're already a member. So that's interesting. But in any case, we'll address that later. What we need to do is on these private channels, we need to say request access. And so that's going to be a little bit different on the back end. So that's kind of where we're going to start. We'll see where we get to. The next few episodes are going to be just tying all this up and putting it all together. So let's see what we can do. Let's start by going over and looking at our code. And let's look at the channels. Let me close down. Is that the channels index? Let me close down these other ones. And let's just look at the channels index. And you can see here that basically we have channel for each channel. We have parsed item, so on and so forth. And we have content.body. And we're just putting a link to join. So what we could do is come in here, and now let me refresh my memory. So we have our post that we're sending to, where's post channels? Definitely need to clean this up. Here we go, post channels. And we have the channel type now here in this type field. So what we should be able to do is over here say if, and then do parsed item dot content dot type is private. Not like that. There we go. So if that, let's tab that in, and then we'll need to do else. If I'm doing this right, we'll see. And then we'll need to do end, or we don't do end in JavaScript, just kidding. Like that. Okay, so I'm missing an opening bracket there. And then actually this one should go here. And let's put this like that. And then if it's private, I'm going to say request access. Let's save and go refresh and see what that does. So now you can see here our first private channel is saying request access, and the rest of them say join. Okay, so obviously this doesn't actually do anything different yet. It just changes the button text. So what we need to do is figure out a strategy for when we join the channel. How do we want to go about doing that? So what we can do in theory, so we have channels join. We should probably pull back the actual channel and check if it's private. And then based on whether or not it's public or private, we should do something different. So you might think that it would be a good idea over here to say something like, let's create a new link and we'll say it's private join or something like that, or even request access or whatever, right? But the problem with that is that leaves, we could do that and it might be fine, but you would have to modify both functions anyway, because you would have to guard against what happens if somebody just goes to this link and swaps in the item hash for the private channel. And let me line this up a little bit better while I'm here. So I hope you can see what I mean, but like if we don't change the security basically on this join, somebody could look at the URL for the whatever the other thing is called with the item hash in there and then just pop it in here to the join one and just get themselves access. So I'm kind of thinking, it makes sense to go ahead and actually do that all in here. So let's go ahead and query the channel, and we can do that. Let me actually just copy a quick query up here. So we'll say let channels equals await aleph.get post channels. And what I want to do is actually look it up based on the item hash. And I think I can do hashes like this. And then we'll do request.params.item hash. And I'm just looking at this, and we copied the word room over there, and we don't need that. So that should be coming from this item hash variable. And let's console log this. Sorry, I clicked on something I should not have. I think no, wrong spot. Here we go. So what I want to do is, first of all, let's make that channel, not channels. And then let's console.log channel. And then let's just kind of comment the rest of this. Okay, cool. So let's refresh, and I'm going to have to log back in. All right, and then let's go over here to channels, and let's try to request access, and it should just spin. And we will just come in here and investigate what's getting logged out here. So you can see that we're console logging an object that has posts, and then in here there's basically an array of just one thing. And yeah, so it's our channel, first private channel. Cool. So what we're going to want to do, and for now I'm going to say let's do let result equal. I'll come up with some better naming conventions in the future for like how I name variables and stuff. I'm not totally thrilled with that, but that's fine. So then we'll say let content equal, and then we need to say what do we want? I'm just reading through down there. So we need to say result.post, and then we need to do that. And actually we could do post. The thing is, if somebody tries to join, I guess it's okay if there's just an error for now. If somebody tries to join something that doesn't exist. Well, we could say if post like this. And then what we need to do is say post content equals, and then we'll say post.item content. And then we need to parse that because it's a string right now. So JSON.parse that. And then let's console.log out that post content. Let me put a let here, and then let's get rid of this console.log, and let's go try it again. So when we refresh, we're going to get, well, nothing, which tells me my server crashed. If post, oh, sometimes I blend programming languages and they don't like that. Okay, so there we go. Let's log in, and let's go over to channels, and let's request access here, and let's go see what's logged out. Cool. So you can see we have type channels, we have the creator address, the content, and the type is private. Okay, cool. So now that we have this, what we're going to do is actually implement some logic up above, and we're going to execute some different things depending on whether or not it's private. We're still going to create the channel membership in both cases, but we're going to set some status flags a bit differently. Okay, so let's see. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is say if post content dot content dot type is private, and again we need to put some parentheses, and then we'll do an else, and so on and so forth. So you know what we can do here is bump that up like that and uncomment it. So what we want to do is actually send some data. And so right now you can see we're just sending this empty object because we were strictly using this kind of as a join table or something like that. But I'm going to say data, and right up here I'm going to say let data, just kind of define that variable. And then if it's private, data is going to equal an empty object to start. And then what we're going to do is say, I guess we can do status pending, like that. And then down here we can do, you know what, since it's just I don't know if we need anything else in there right now. And then we can do data status is active if it's public, because you can just join, right? And essentially, one thing I need to do is go ahead and uncomment this, and we'll put that there, and then else handle error condition, something like that. Okay, so this should all work now in theory. We got our data being passed here, get the ref and everything set up exactly how it was. Okay, cool. Let's try it again. So we'll do our same old user. You know what? Actually, let's create a new user. Okay, and this will be Jackson Smith, and password doesn't matter. And what we'll do, first of all, let's go over here to channels, and let's just join the TechMaker channel. All right, and you can see here, apparently I used J Smith last time, so we're Jackson Smith now. Testing from Jackson, and that works fine. Cool. So everything like that works just like it did. And let's try the private channel now. So we'll request access, and the funny thing is where you can still post in here, posting to a private channel. And the thing is, what we need to do is, really we need to do two things. We need to change up this entire screen. So if you don't have access, you know, if it's private, at a minimum, you shouldn't have this post message thing down here. But even better than that and beyond that, if you haven't been accepted, we should be filtering these out. And so what we're going to have to do is basically, when we pull back the channel, and again, we worked this out last time when you actually create the channel. Sorry, let me figure out where my channels create is. Channels post. So yeah, so channel type, if it's private, we go ahead and put the approved, for the approved addresses, we go ahead and add the creator so that they should be in that list. So what we're going to need to do is say, if you're not in this approved addresses deal, we're not going to show that message, right? So let's go over to we should be able to knock that out really fast. But what we're going to need to do in the next episode is actually build the approval process, which I'm not going to do here. But if we go over to our, I think is it index, where we have the post, right? So our post on the parsed item content has an address, right? So what we should be able to do is something like, and I might be mixing up some Ruby here, but we have the channel on the page, right? If I'm not mistaken. It's in the room variable if I'm remembering correctly. Let's just check really fast back over here. So we're on our rooms show. So if I were to rebuild this, I would definitely, first of all, I need to clean up the code. But I would definitely rework the naming. So we have channel as test here. So, I don't know what that did if I clicked on it. Okay, so we're passing in the room, and the room is actually going to be essentially the channel item hash. And so what we can do, I'm wondering actually if what I need to do is, because right now I just have the actual reference to the room here. I'm gonna need to kind of bring in something different, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So this room, so let me just explain this while I'm doing this. So that's really just this bit of text. That's this. So room is that. And we can really quickly just prove this. If we come into our index here, and let me just go quickly look back at the browser. So up there where it says chat, I'm going to just print out the room. And that's just going to be a temporary placeholder for us to see what's going on. And that did not work. How would I do that if I wanted to do that? Maybe that's like a... I assumed that was going to work, but maybe not. Let me make sure I didn't just break it some other way. No, I did break it some other way. Oh, I started doing something here and did not finish it. There we go. Okay. I thought maybe I was getting my syntax wrong for a second, but apparently not. Okay. Cool. So you can see here that basically we've got our chat F1 blah blah blah, and that's up here. So that's exactly that. And that's not going to do us any good for what we need it, because what we need to do is check if this person, whoever that is, we need to check if that is their address is actually in the allowed addresses on this channel. So we need the full channel object. And we can do that very similarly to how we did it up here. And you can see that these things are getting a little, these methods are getting pretty long. So I'm going to come over and grab that. And we really just need to put it in here. And let's say I don't need to redeclare result if I've already declared it. And yeah, definitely would clean this code up a lot in a real project. Okay, so we're going to let data, and we're going to get all this post content. You know what? I don't need to let data anything. I just need to do post content is post.item content. Okay. I'm going to copy all of these lines, and I'm just going to come down here and modify it. So what I would be looking to do, and I'm going to probably need to do a more deep dive on this, because this is actually going to be an interesting refactoring project. You know, a lot of the things we're doing is working with sort of raw data structures, and what I would like to do is actually create objects so that I can pass in data into objects and then have just nice objects that I can call methods on, instead of dealing with all this kind of crazy raw stuff here. So am I putting this in the wrong spot? I am putting this in the wrong spot. Okay, let me undo all of that. Come back up to the get method. That's what we want. So I'm going to just paste that stuff in right here. Let me make sure that's, so this is not called item hash. First of all, it's called room. And we've actually already got it pulled out of the request, so we can just say room. Then we have result, post. We don't need data. If post, let post content. You know what? I'm just going to assume there's got to be a post here, because otherwise you're visiting a room that just doesn't exist, and I don't really feel like doing all the ifs right now. Okay, so let post content equal that. And I'm just going to pass in, let me just console log post content real quick. Console.log post content. All right, let's refresh. It's going to make us log in again. Who did we create? Jackson Smith. I really need to get some more original names. Okay, so we'll go over here to tech maker or first private channel, either one. And then we will come back over here. Let's see what we just logged out. So this is what we're logging out. Type, channel, address, content, approved addresses. Okay, so, one thing we could think about doing, and I'm not going to do it right now because I just want to send the whole object. One thing we could think about doing is just sending out those approved addresses because that's the only thing we really need. You know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to send over channel details, and then we'll say channel details, and then up above I'm going to say post content, and we'll say let channel details equal post content dot content, like that. Okay, so now we got channel details. Then over here, what I'm going to do, the second I parse this item, the next thing I'm going to do is actually, you know what? Let's go and log in over here, and let's see that it works step by step here. Let's just kind of go make sure that we've got our channel working. You can see it's slow because it's doing a lot more requests now. So again, you would move this into kind of a different framework probably, or have a different strategy, front-end framework, or at least loading the screen and the content of certain sections of the screen asynchronously would be a good idea. What I'm going to do is say if, and then we'll say, I'm in the wrong spot. I don't want to be in the channels. I want to be on the, I'm going to go ahead and close that. Yeah, we'll save it. I didn't look at it, so that's a bad idea, but let's just hope it's good. Okay, so what I want to do is inside of my post here, if channel details dot approved addresses dot include, and then what we want to do is say post dot address. Actually, what we want to do is say parsed item dot address. So, the really cool thing that, like I was talking about, like this is really, really, really weird code to me because like we're dealing with a lot of like, I've got to parse the thing here in place and all this kind of stuff. And I actually need to do that under. But anyway, so I'd really like to have more objects that I've created on my end that I'm working with. So that's something I'm going to be looking at later. But anyway, so let's go ahead and tab all that in and then close that thing off like that, which means I need to actually open it in the first place. Okay, so if channel details approved addresses include, which just returns true or false depending on if this thing is in there. Let's go refresh and see if it gets put in. I did some syntax. Approved addresses dot include. It's not a function, is it? Let's see here. JavaScript. Let's see. Oh, it includes. Okay, cool. I sometimes mix up Ruby and JavaScript, and that's pretty normal if you've been around here very long. Okay, so includes. And let's see. Cool. So that doesn't make any sense. Hold on a sec. Let's see. Okay, you see it flicker there? So it's actually flickering in after the fact. That is because our web sockets are adding it after the fact. So let's come on down and see if we can fix that. So we've got message.content is for channel. So it might be useful to just kind of hook into this is for channel right here. So we could say, and let's see, how are they doing that? How are we doing that? Let's say var room equals that if is for the room, and you know what? I can't do it quite like I want to. I'm wondering if I can get that EJS stuff down here too. I this may not work the way that I'm thinking. Let's actually keep this separated. Let's do function, and then we'll say oh man. First of all, let me get rid of these ampersands back here. You know what? I might wrap it up here. I'm just trying to think if this is going to be something I can knock out in like a minute or two, or it's going to take another 10 or 15, because I think this is getting kind of long. Basically, what I'm thinking I need to do is, first of all, let's do this. Let's console.log, just right here, channel details, and make sure we have access to that variable. Right? So up here, we're doing all this stuff. I mean, because I feel like what I need to actually do is console.log that. And that feels like I'm not going to be able to do that. So this is going to be a little bit of a problem. So we're going to be picking up WebSocket messages, and we don't have the full channel details available here. You know what? Never mind. There's a much easier way to do this. So what we're going to do is let's find this current room thing. Yeah, we've already got this set up this way. So the reason this is throwing me off is because it's JavaScript on both sides. Normally in Ruby, this is how I would do it, because you cannot mix Ruby and JavaScript like I was just kind of doing there. So what we might do here is say ID is approved addresses, and then we'll say channel details dot approved addresses, like that. Okay, so let me come down and make sure I didn't leave any weird syntax. I think I got rid of everything. So let's refresh and see what we get over here, see if it breaks. Okay, so I want to look at the elements, approved addresses, and it's one item. So, that's going to be, oh, and I still have data room, so that's no good. Let me come up here and say data approved addresses, like that. Okay, so I'm gonna have to work this out in the next video, but what we're gonna do is basically we're gonna have this data approved addresses. We're gonna pull the addresses out of this, and then if your address is not in this list, we won't append your message via the WebSockets. So I think that makes sense. Well, this video has become much longer than I thought, and that's fine, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. I think in the next one, what we're going to do is, like I said, filter out stuff that shouldn't be here. And then we'll probably change up the UI just a little bit. So a couple of things we need to do. We need to hide this if you're actually not in this channel. We don't want you to have a form. We want you to have something that says, hey, your membership is pending. What we could also do is over on the channels page, if you're already in one of these channels, it shouldn't be prompting you to join again. So that's something. And then I think the main thing that we need to do is actually build out the ability to approve people. So we'll filter things out. We might work on the UI elements first, and then maybe the next episode after that is actually getting the approvals built. Yeah, and I think that basically will get us to the point where everything is kind of wrapped up. I mean, obviously this isn't a fully finished production ready app, but it's definitely coming together, and it's pretty interesting in terms of looking at how we can do some things in a decentralized way, and looking at how to data model and that sort of stuff on top of a decentralized network like Aleph. So yeah, I think I'm going to kind of get the next few episodes done. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but I'm going to get the next like little wrapped up, kind of like get the feature set kind of wrapped up, and then maybe just move on. I got another series I'm going to start about NFTs, And then I think once we do that one, I'm going to come back to this and just take the data model ideas from here and then build like an Electron app or something along those lines. So we'll see. In any case, thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.